welcome to the podcast, if this is your first time. If it's not, welcome back. Today, I've got Miss Ashley Cooksey joining me, and we're going to learn a little bit more about her professional background in the program here at Tech. So, Ashley, I think first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, where you grew up, things like that?
Absolutely. So I did grow up here in Pope County, in Atkins actually, so very small school, very small town. My parents owned a restaurant that is kind of renowned in the state for creating and making fried dill pickles. Atkins had a pickle plant, and my mother purchased the restaurant in 1979, so I grew up in a restaurant serving and waiting tables when I could carry plates and trays, and graduated from high school there and came straight to Arkansas Tech for my bachelor's degree.
So tell us, so you chose Arkansas Tech, it was kind of home, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. What program did you choose, or what degree path did you kind of talk us through that degree path for us?
So I thought that I wanted to be a journalist, and initially started as an English major in journalism, and quickly realized that that wasn't for me, and changed to early childhood education at the time, which was a pre-K through 4th grade educator license, and went through that program here on campus. We were in cohorts, so there were about 60 of us that kind of went through the entire program together from sophomore year till commencement, and I still talk to a lot of the candidates that were in my program. We developed really strong bonds, have connections with professors here still, and they were so supportive, which is what I really loved. Tech is a little bit of a small campus, but it has a very warm hometown feel, and that's what I enjoyed most about coming through the program. And we had in that program so many hands-on opportunities, which I think is important for college experience, right? You want to know if that's something you want to continue with throughout the rest of your life, and that's what you want for a career. So it worked out really well that was something we got into. I was able to sub in the school district, so got a little bit more experience just because of our schedule, and it was a great experience. I really, really love this campus. It's grown so much, and it is still one of my favorite places.
You know, as I meet more students and as we chat, that sense of belonging, that sense of place, they may not always use those words, right? But they talk about the comfort, the relationships, and that makes me think that it's probably one of the most important pieces about Tech is that sense of place, that comfort. Students feel welcome and they feel like they belong. So I love that that's a common theme. Okay, so you finished your bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And you're like, what's next? So what was the next step for Ashley?
For me, I actually moved to California for a year. My ex-husband was stationed in California. Unfortunately, that state had different rules and regulations for educators, so I couldn't teach for a year. They required another, it was almost a year. It was like 24 credit hours of different classes that I hadn't had here. So I did a few different things, wrote some lesson plans for companies and organizations, babysat a lot of the little kids on base, and then when I came back to Arkansas, I started teaching in Southern Arkansas for 2 years. I taught 3rd grade and teen taught, so I taught the literacy block. Math, science, and social studies was taught by my partner, teacher Keena Trammell. I absolutely love 3rd grade. It's a very hard grade for students to go through, but they're starting to kind of really get their own personalities at that time, so it was really fun to be in that environment and see kids grow from, being small children to kind of their own independent self.
Sure, I just think about my kids as they're kind of going through that same age range, right? It's like that, and then like the 12, 13, 14
right at the junior
old.
High, 6th grade junior high area, yeah.
I'm going through, I've got, my last one is kind of in that age range right now. We're kind of going through it. But yeah, you're right, and it's sometimes that's tough for the kiddos and for others, but it's incredible to see that growth, and I think that's special, right? Okay, so you taught for a couple years, and then what was the next step?
Then my district, it was a small rural district, and we had lost some enrollment, so they had to implement a reduction in force policy, which means that any educator that is not necessary, they do a lot of rearranging. I had my job cut, so had to move. I came back to Russellville and started subbing again in the Russellville School District. I was really kind of thinking about what I wanted to do further. Was there anything else I could add other than my current degree? And I think a lot of educators think that, like, what can I do next? Or where can I go from here? What's a backup? And that's when I decided to get my master's degree. I actually came here to Tech, and it was when everything was on paper, application, all of that. So I came to campus the day that classes started and walked back and forth. I probably tracked 500 miles going back and forth from office to office and getting things signed, filling out the application. Got into classes that day for my master's as a school librarian, so library media specialist, and finished that up here. And it's really funny because Dr. Bell, who was our licensure coordinator, was the dean of the college at the time. So he had to sign off on my hours and allow me to come into the college. He was the one that approved my application. And it did not go by the program director. So he put me in classes, and I show up to class that night, and the program director said, there's someone in here who did not get my approval to be in the class. And I kind of shrank in my chair. And I said, I think that was me. And she said, well, who let you in here? I was like, Dr. Bell? She said, well, that's my boss, so I guess you're legit. You can come into this program. She was a fantastic mentor. She just had a great sense of humor. I didn't know that walking in at the time. Yeah. But it was a great program, and being here again on campus in person for that program put me right back in Crayball, where my office is now, actually.
Okay. Yeah, it's, Dr. Ward is somebody I've gotten to know since I've been here as well, and some people say he'll never retire. But such a wealth of knowledge and a great, I've heard a lot of folks say, such a great mentor as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you wrap up your graduate program, and then what's the next step for Ashley?
Then I became a school librarian in Eastern Arkansas, so very small rural school again. I think that's a pattern here in Arkansas, small rural schools. I loved every minute of it. It gave me the opportunity to interact and work with new technologies, teaching students how to do that, how to walk through research and media literacy. Worked with a lot of great educators in collaborating and co-teaching. And I was there for 2 years before moving to a different district in Batesville, and stayed there in an elementary school library for 6 years, and then moved on to the high school to be an instructional technology coordinator. Okay. So the library media gives you that big, huge background in educational technology, so it was a really smooth transition from one role to the other. Okay.
And then I'm guessing we're getting close to the time to coming back to Arkansas Tech again?
Close to the time. Okay. I was at Batesville School District, and when COVID happened, I ended up being an adjunct instructor at the University of Central Arkansas in a fully online master's program for online teaching. Ended up working full-time in their technology learning center, which is kind of like a big maker space. It was the best time. I had a laser cutter, 3D printers, all kinds of robots. Like it was a little play place. I got to play with things all day long. Stayed there for a little while, and a position opened here at Tech, and I wasn't initially interested in applying. I thought I'm not going to get it. There's probably more qualified candidates. And a friend of mine said, just fill out the application. Just try. Just see what happens. And I did, and interviewed, and very short turnaround between my interview and start date, so it was less than 2 weeks.
Oh, goodness, okay.
But got everything transitioned, I think it was like August 7th, and so, classes start within 2-week time period, so it was a very quick transition, and we came back to Tech.
Yeah, and I apologize. I remember you talking about your time there at UCA, and mm-hmm. so that I just forgot for a second. And I've actually heard much about this makerspace and how incredible it is from other folks. But you did get the opportunity to come back.
Yes.
And so I think that, what I'd like for you to talk about next is talk about the program that you're the director of the program. So talk about what the program is, maybe a little bit about the classes and what the students are learning in those courses.
Sure. So I am actually program director for the program I completed as a graduate student. So it's been, full circle moment for everything. My office is where I had class. I spent most of my time on that same floor. So the program it has a very long title, Instructional Technology, School Library Media Masters K-12 option. We shorten it down and just call it School Library Media Program. I think that's what resonates with most people. And there's two options actually. So there's a 30-hour option for a full master's program. Most of the candidates in the program are current educators that are looking to add to their license. In the state of Arkansas, you have to have a master's degree in addition to a teaching license. There is another option that's called an ancillary license. So if you don't have an educator degree and you would like to be a school librarian, there is an option for that. There's a couple of prerequisite classes in that program. And the second full option would be to do a graduate certificate. Many educators in our state already have a master's degree, an education-based master's degree, so the certificate option allows them to be able to add to their license without obtaining a second full master's degree if they don't want the additional hours. Some of those classes overlap, like educational research. And as you know, there are only so many classes that we can pull in and transfer from another program. The state of Arkansas only allows within a time frame. So if you've had your master's for a while, the certificate is probably the better option so that we get the best credit option for you and you get the most out of what you're doing.
Certainly, and I know that's across several of our programs where we try to offer, you know, those other options where it may be a better fit for the individual and whatnot. So I know, you know, as you and I have talked in the past, you talk about some of this hands-on experiential learning that's embedded within the courses for the students, the applied aspects of it. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, and it's really important for me to make sure everyone has experience in the school library before you get to the practicum semester. So it's required to spend a semester and earn 120 hours of active work within a school library. But I want you to be prepared before you get there and not just kind of thrown to the wolves. So each course has 1 to 2 assignments that are built in where you're either in a school library doing something, some kind of activity. It may be a book display. We look at auditing the library collection. It may be that you interview school librarians. Our school librarian leadership class actually has a list of school librarians from across the country who are leaders. So they may have won the School Library Journal, School Librarian of the Year, or other national awards, and that's who you interview. So I have a list that I've coordinated with them so that it's outside of the state too, so that you get a good range of what school librarianship looks like, because it's different. It's different district to district, and it can be different even within the same district. So having that hands-on experience is really important. I've gotten a lot of feedback from candidates in the program who say some of the assignments that they do apply directly to their classroom too. So like an audit of your collection, it doesn't have to be a school library. You can audit your classroom library too. So having a lot of that hands-on experience, they record videos, do some digital ed tech research, and then present as if you were presenting a webinar to have that professional learning presentation practice. So every class, like I said, has 1 or 2 things in there that I feel is really important to have that connection to the school library.
Sure. I think that's another kind of pillar within the ATU community, or the ATU programs we have, is more application-based experiential learning aspects within the curriculum, within the courses. And I think you're carrying on a tradition that I think we hold dear a little bit.
Yes.
Not a little bit, quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So I think to kind of help get us closing out here is thinking about, like, if a student's looking into your program or a program like yours, and I don't want to mess up the name. I'll say library media specialist.
Library media specialist.
So if somebody's looking at whether they're a younger person who's thinking about this as a career launching point, or somebody that's out there that maybe has some experience, a seasoned professional, and looking to add this, maybe kind of walk us through some advice for folks that are looking into this as a career opportunity.
The one thing that I love about my program is that it is fully online. So there is no expectation for anyone to have to come to campus, which means that it's open to any state, any candidate across the country. So that's one great thing about it, is fully online program. very flexible, and I also think that building community with your cohort, because as school librarians, I couldn't run across the hallway and ask the other school librarian how the lesson went or what did you do for XYZ. So building that connection is really important for me in class. So we do a lot of assignments where you may have a partner or a small group, like the children's and young adult literacy class are in reading groups. So instead of meeting synchronously with me on Zoom, they coordinate their own meetings and go through the text together. Some of them have done it asynchronously, where they'll use Padlet or Wakelet or something else, Google Docs, Google Slides, where they can have a conversation virtually without setting aside time to meet.
Sure.
So that, I think, for anyone that's looking at that program, just consider that it's not something to do solo. You build a professional learning network as you go, and having dedicated time, just knowing, setting aside time for homework, because a master's program is quite a bit different than an undergraduate program as far as course load. And that's what I hear from sometimes when I get undergraduates. I go talk to some of their classes and they come straight into the program and they want to take 9 or 12 hours. Like, if you're working full time, that is not realistic, and it's going to be very hard. So just kind of pacing yourself, and don't try to rush through. Don't try to do it in a year. The certificate program is laid out so that you can do it in a year, but the master's program, you need a little bit more time.
Sure. No, I think it's very important, and it's something that I've actually, I had a student in here the other day and talking about master's programs, and I was just trying to be honest with her. I said, on paper it looks like less credit hours, right?
Right, yeah.
But the workload, I don't want to say it's monumentally more, but it is different. The investment is different, and I think that it is an adjustment from one to the other, because it's such a different thing.
It is, yeah.
And you interact with your professors differently, and your cohort. I could go on and on. I'll leave it at that. I think the last thing I would say is, if you see a student walking across campus and they just you strike up a conversation, what would you give any student advice as they're walking through their educational pathway?
To get involved in something. Find a group that you can connect with. For me, as an undergrad, it was my cohort of educators. I had 2 children when I was in college, so I couldn't do a lot of RSOs and big group meetings and things like that, but I was really connected with our cohort in classes and made friends with them. I had some really great friends who were in sororities and loved their groups. There's really great events on campus that don't require you to be part of anything. Like, we had Light the Night recently, and it's just connecting with other people and being part of something, I think, is really important. And that kind of impacted me as a professional, to make sure that I'm part of a professional organization, that I interact with other colleagues in my profession. I join groups on social media and attend conferences, and I think that all came from instilling that as an undergrad, like being part of something. I think professional organizations are super important. I know my son was like, I don't understand why they want us to join these things. That's because it gives you a leg up if you have a question or need something, like connecting with school library leaders across the country and just being able to text them or call them and say, hey, I have a student that needs to do an interview, do you have time? That all came from being part of a professional organization. So I think that would be my best advice, is get involved in something. And it may be weekend hikes. I know that there's a lot of community groups that do, they'll meet here on campus and go hike at Mount Nebo, or clean up crews, just anything that gets you connected to another person, another group.
Right. I think it goes back to that sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging.
All those those things that make you feel good about a place.
And that's why I love the Alumni Association too, because they do so many things, even away from campus, that has been really great to keep people involved. Not even it doesn't end when you graduate. It doesn't end at commencement. You're a lifetime member of Arkansas Tech.
And I think that's a great way to kind of conclude. If they're interested in learning more about the program, they can reach out to you.
Yes, they can reach out to me. Email address is acooksey, Cooksey. I always do the sign language alphabet. It was something I taught my third graders, so anytime I spell out something, I spell it with my hand. ACOOKSEY@atu.edu. You can find the program in the graduate catalog online for both the master's and the graduate certificate. And I am available. I'm pretty good about answering emails. That's one thing that I try to make sure that I do, because a fully online program, that's our main method of communication. So.
And I will reiterate, she's excellent about returning emails. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your semester.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.